The Tale of Gulden-Draak, Prologue, Part 4. Olga. Olga lay with her back towards the hearth in the center of their small wooden house. Her whole body ached from the extra labors she had to sustain on the farm in Torgun's absence. A horn of ale her only comfort. After long draughts, she stared into the dark, twisted bottom of the empty cup. What could have happened to my husband, she thought. Nothing either too good or too bad ever happened to us since we wed 15 years ago. When others were starving, we had barely just enough to feed ourselves and the animals we needed. When others in the village harvested well enough to store up for 2 bad winters, we had just enough for 1. No, nothing terrible could have happened to Torgund. His commonness, his sameness, that wards off the gods' greatest blessings, also makes him too uninteresting for great punishment. No bear or pack of robbers would be too excited by his crossing. For all I know, he has had a number of twists and turns up in the mountains that ended him right back where he started, with just a little bit less wild game than he dared aim for. And he's on his way home to me now, with his little show for all of the work I've had to do by myself this fortnight. With a slow creak, the door opened, and in stepped Torgund from the brisk night air. Olga sat up, perceiving something different about her husband. "It's about time you showed up," she snickered. "You look as if you have been with the spirits. Where have you been? I see you haven't even brought me small game." Torgun approached the fire, looking down at the floor. His shame consumed him for a second, as Olga's bitter tone faintly reminded him of previous arguments concerning their lack of children. Reaching into his pocket, he began to grin devilishly. "No, wife, for I have brought you something far more valuable than a rabbit for tonight's stew. Look." Holding out his hand, the gold scales and jewels shimmered against the orange glow of the dying fire. The winds picked up outside as Torgun explained to her about the golden dragon and his journey tracking. She felt a twinge in her heart, like a sort of ache at the beast's description. This ache rose to its loudest when Torgun described being ambushed on the hillside. But the shimmering jewels, the nervous excitement in Torgun's long-winded speech, and the howling wind outside all but drowned out her heart's faint cry. Staring at the gold, she soon began to think of all the animals and the finer threads she could buy. Even the sound of Torgun's voice trailed off as he began repeating himself. Could it really be true? Could her plain and simple husband have stumbled upon such a great omen? But for all of Torgun's details and reiterations, there stood the scales in his hand, as hard and shaped in unison as from the back of any serpent. "We must sell the farm," she interrupted. Torgun's wide eyes, which had been roaming wildly, settled on his wife, and there remained transfixed. "I will sell our goats and chickens and the cows tomorrow, so they will not starve, and then I will go back with you. We must not sell everything at once, or we will raise too much suspicion. If I go hunting with you enough times this summer, and we sell the farm this fall, no one will chase us into the mountains just to freeze. A couple of lunatics are not that interesting once they have long shown themselves committed to their destructive path. If it is, as you say, and this golden dragon exists, we would be fools not to chase it ourselves, while we alone know of its existence. And if you are lying somehow, I will not remain the wife of a fool who would dare steal such treasure from mighty men." Torgun's manic smile simmered down to a soft grin. He knew the sight of the dragon itself would convince his wife the rest of the way and capture her reverence along with the imagination of her heart already pricked. Contrary to letting his feelings be hurt by her threat, his spirit soared. He now had a partner.